Eagle double G.
Say you're sorry. Fucking say it!
Why the hell can't he talk?
He doesn't need words.
Wow, that might have been easily one of my worst openings to a YouTube video ever, and I hope that everybody slams me in the comment section for that because I 100% deserve it. So Mute is the next direct-to-Netflix movie that I am reviewing on this channel because it is directed by a guy who, not necessarily one of my favorite directors, but definitely a guy who's made a lot of clout in the last couple of years, and that is Duncan Jones, the son of the recently passed David Bowie, who directed 3 movies that got a lot of attention for a lot of different reasons. You've got Moon, which kicked him off, which was a very well-received independent movie that came out in 2009 starring Sam Rockwell. Then he followed that up with Source Code, which was a very intriguing mystery that involved a technological angle that I did not see coming, starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And then he followed that up with Warcraft, which was probably the best live-action video game adaptation that we've ever gotten to the big screen. But with what that compares to, that really isn't saying that much. So Mute follows a, surprise, surprise, a mute barman played by Alexander Skarsgård. He's searching for his girlfriend in this futuristic Berlin, Germany. And his search for her takes him on this exploration through all of the seedy, dirty, underbelly things that you find in every future science fiction, neo-noir movie setting. And, oh yeah, and Paul Rudd's in this movie. Netflix has been notorious, at least for this year so far, for having 2 major science fiction movies that the internet just fucking hated. Like, every single review that I saw for both this movie and the Cloverfield Paradox, which dropped a couple months ago, were just some of the worst possible reviews you could have ever seen. And while the Cloverfield Paradox at the very least had the positive that was its marketing, which nobody had seen before, this movie, what is this movie's excuse? Well, as I would like to think that I am the fair person that I am, I did not hate either of those movies as much as everybody else did. Do they have their problems? Absolutely. Are they perfect movies? Hell no. But are they as bad as everybody says they are? I don't think so. In fact, with this movie, I actually found a lot to enjoy. For starters, Alexander Skarsgård. I really liked him in this movie. I actually really liked him a lot. He does a surprisingly amazing job of being very, very emoting with just facial expressions, considering that, yeah, he is a mute and he can't speak for most of it, and I really, really dug him in this movie, especially considering that this was following up Big Little Lies, which is probably the worst I've ever seen from him. But yeah, Skarsgård's whole thing for why he's mute is that he had an accident in the beginning of the movie, and because his parents are super, super Amish, that's the reason why they never got any surgery, and so that part really isn't explained that much, and it really doesn't have anything to do with his character. But I think that, given the little characterization that he does, Skarsgård gives probably the best performance that I've seen from him since True Blood, and I've gone on record to say that I really do enjoy him in True Blood. Then there's Paul Rudd, who plays a underground surgeon named Cactus Bill, who him and his buddy, who are played by Justin Theroux, are just these surgeons that work for these underground mob bosses, and he is trying to get himself and his daughter to America, no matter what the case. And without spoiling anything, there was a twist surrounding his character that makes him just revealed to be so much more deranged than you possibly could have thought. And the connection between him and Skarsgård that the film has been building to throughout is probably one of the best twists that I've seen in a while, and that I legitimately did not see it coming, and Paul Rudd does such an amazing job playing deranged. This honestly might be some of the best dramatic work that I've ever seen from him. I also think the cinematography and visuals are also on point here. It really is kind of amazing to me how Netflix is managing to do CGI so much better than most of the movies that we get now. I have no idea why or how, but whatever they're doing, they need to keep doing it because this world looks absolutely gorgeous and fascinating. Alright, now we get to the problems with this movie. Well, now, like I said, I don't hate this movie the way that everybody else does, but the problems that are there and very, very glaring. First of all, Justin Theroux. So I don't have a problem with his performance, but the way that the movie characterizes him, the movie is kind of trying to make us feel bad for him, even though it is made clear very early on that he's a pedophile and is very clearly pining for Paul Rudd's daughter, and it doesn't really make sense at first why Paul Rudd is hanging around this guy, especially once he finds out for sure that he is a pedophile. And it kind of makes sense towards the end once you find out just exactly how deranged and nutso Paul Rudd is, so it kind of makes sense why these two just fucked up people would be together. But still, at the very least, it's like, you could have done a little bit better there writing-wise. Just to giving him like just a little bit more something for us to latch on to, like a reason for why he's a pedophile. Or also, outside of those primary three, there are some very iffy performances. Now, the good thing is that the terrible performances in this movie are cut out of the movie instantaneously. First off, the girlfriend, Alexander Skarsgård's girlfriend, and whose disappearance kind of kicks off the events of the movie, her performance, good God, she is one note and meh and annoying to watch, and it's almost kind of amazing to me. Like, I do not understand what Skarsgård sees in this girl, and it really sucks because he is acting his ass off versus she is just, I'm like, ugh. But the good news is that the movie seems to have a little bit of a self-awareness to just how terrible she is and kicks her out real quick. And then you got her friend, who's a transgender, played by Robert Sheehan, who is going to be in another movie later this year, Peter Jackson's Mortal Engine movie, and wow, he was bad. That was like a new level of bad. Just talk about like every LGBTQ stereotype in the book, that from every terrible 90s gay character just amped up to 11, and that's basically this character that you've got here. Script-wise and story-wise, it does lag a little at points, but never to the point where I'm bored. Like, I am very much locked into the story, and even though the very obvious allusions to Blade Runner are there, it's never enough to bother me. But probably the biggest thing about this is that, unlike Blade Runner, the sci-fi setting just really isn't needed. Like, at the very least with Blade Runner, they were using new and different technologies and just giving you an engaging visual experience that made you want to see and understand this world. But with this movie, however, you may as well could have just set it in modern day and it would not have made a lick of a difference. Oh, and there's also the fact that Duncan Jones said that this movie takes place in the same universe as his first movie, Moon, and the references and Easter eggs are there, but the way that they play out in the movie, it's like, why were they even needed? You just didn't need them. Just take them out. It would have made no difference to the plot and story of this movie. But probably the saving grace of this movie is the ending, because besides the fact that it is just badass how Skarsgård manages to resolve all the tension, but there's a twist concerning Paul Rudd's daughter where you think it's gonna go one direction, but it doesn't, and I am so happy that it doesn't go in that direction. So with that being said, Mute is a very engaging experience, and it's another example of Netflix kind of sort of pushing the boundaries forward, but the story certainly does have problems. A lot of the characters aren't as fully fleshed out as they could be, and certain character motivations really don't make sense and are just downright iffy. That's why I can only give this movie 5.5 out of 10 stars. I really don't think this movie is as bad as everyone says it is. So that is it. That is my review for... Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Also, be sure to click the like button and the subscribe button. Follow me on Twitter at Movie Nerd Review. Also, head on over to my website, movienerdreviews.com. That is it. I will see you guys next time.